in Congress with our support to make a woman's right to choose the law of the land. The City of West Hollywood, the first to go on record as being pro-choice, is committed to protecting women's reproductive rights. We thank you for standing with us. I'm now going to introduce Mayor Pro Tem Seppi Shine.
Hello everyone, my name is Seppi Shine. My first name is spelled S as in Sam, E, P as in Peter, I. My last name is spelled S as in Sam, H, Y, N, E, and I'm the Mayor Pro Tem of the City of West Hollywood. Last night during closed session, my colleagues and I found out that the Supreme Court of the United States released, a leaked draft of their opinion was released, and essentially Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood versus Casey are headed on the way to be finalized, to be overturned. This is an extremely dark day in America. We are in one of the darkest times. Women, girls, and transgender men are in danger. Our lives are in danger. There is no way that I can express the gravity of what we will be facing. My family and I fled from Iran in 1982. I was 5 years old, and I witnessed what it was like for women's rights to be taken away one by one. Every single right of Iranian women was torn from us. It was a tragedy. And when we fled here because of the freedom that America provided, because of freedoms through cases like Roe v. Wade. And it is absolutely a nightmare that we are here now. And it is a direct result of the Trump presidency and the fact that he was able to appoint 3 conservative judges to the Supreme Court who every single one of them, promised to leave Roe v. Wade intact, that it was legal precedent. The draft ruling is expansive and it is scary. What I read not only will take away women's rights, there is language in there that lets us know that gay rights are in danger. Gay marriage is in danger. And the fact is, when in this country, in America, the highest court in the land takes away a woman's right to choose, none of us are safe. In the city of West Hollywood, we have fought for so long for so many rights: women's rights, LGBTQ rights, the rights of renters, and more, immigrants' rights. This last year, Councilmember Horvath and I brought forward an item that was unanimously supported by the City Council and my colleagues for us to prepare for this day, sadly, and to work with LA County to come up with an action plan for us to be the safety for women across America. And we are dedicated to that fight. We are dedicated in the city of West Hollywood to fight like hell. But what we need is allyship. What women need is for men to stand alongside us. All men, all LGBT, the entire LGBTQ community needs to rise up. The immigrant community. This ruling affects people of color and especially low-income folks. We have such privilege being in California. I am very aware of the privilege that I have serving this great city of West Hollywood. Outside of California, there have been so many rulings, so many states wanting to turn back women's rights to choose. And this ruling, which will be solidified in June, depending on what the final ruling is, will make life for so many women and trans men hell in this country. So what do we do from here? We need to fight. We need to organize. Reach out to the folks that are going to be speaking from the organizations on this stage today. Reach out to us, and we will let you know the resources that we have, and we will come up with an action plan and continue to fight to make sure that we are in the streets. I mean, we need to just be in the streets like never before to put pressure on these justices and let them know that we will not allow time to be turned back. I have two of my colleagues that were not able to be here, and I have statements to read from them. First is Councilmember John D'Amico's statement, JOHNDAMICO, and this is his statement. The history of this moment will be written by the action taken because of this ruling, not this ruling. As always, America, with its might and its mayhem and its desire for perfection, will go on. How it will go on, how it will move forward, and who is given the chance to be heard and seen is up to all of us. We who believe in America as a place of attraction, of human power, of real opportunity, of real progress, of an America as a place of fairness, equality, and expansion, I know I do. It is my belief that democracy thrives in times of danger. It raises the stakes and changes the odds. The stakes are high today, and I believe the odds are in our favor. Yes, these are dangerous times, and I believe we will come together and come out of this dark moment better, bringing a new commitment to the rights and freedoms Americans and America needs to endure. I also have a statement from Councilmember John Erickson, JOHNERICKSON. The news underscores what advocates have been saying, that we must act now to be prepared for the end of the right to abortion in this country. West Hollywood is the first city in the country to declare itself pro-choice, and we will always rise up and fight against these oppressive and draconian rulings. This news is terrifying. It is a wake-up call for millions of people who thought the U.S. Supreme Court would protect them from this dangerous direction, and more importantly, from the scarier decisions yet to come for countless people. The time to act is now. Fight like hell and vote like your life depends on it, because it just might. Thank you to everyone who came out today. I want to introduce my colleague, Councilmember Lindsay Horvath.
My name's Lindsay Horvath, LINDSEY HORVATH. I wish we didn't have to be here this afternoon, but we do. We have to stand strong, show up each and every day to let the people on the Supreme Court know, especially those who are still thinking about how they're going to weigh in, that we're not going back. We aren't going back to back alleys. We're not going back in the closet. We are not turning back time. We are marching forward. We are prepared to ensure that the rights of all pregnant people will be respected, honored, and protected. We are prepared as a community to work in partnership with all of Los Angeles County to ensure that healthcare providers like Planned Parenthood Los Angeles, like Cedars-Sinai, like all of our healthcare providers who make sure that we have access to all of our critical healthcare services, that all of our healthcare services are able to be accessed here in our community without question, without regard for immigration status or race or gender identity. We will not stop in the face of this adversity. We will press on. We will fight back, and we will stand strong. It's devastating to think that our government would attempt to roll back decades of legal precedent in order to undermine what have been constitutionally protected rights in this country. And we know it doesn't stop at abortion. We know that it doesn't stop at marriage equality. We know it doesn't stop at all of the progress that has been made by legal precedent. We see their intention in the legislative intention that's being discussed, because rolling back these court decisions isn't enough for some people. They will not stop until they entirely control women in this country. And we're not going to stand for that. We're fighting back. We're standing strong. We will make sure that all resources are available to residents not only of West Hollywood, but throughout Los Angeles County, and to anyone who is in danger in their own hometown, in their home state. This will be a refuge for everyone to be able to safely access the full range of reproductive health care services, including abortion, which must be provided to keep women safe, to keep pregnant people safe, to make sure that we are not forced into pregnancy that threatens our lives and our futures. That is unacceptable. It cannot be who we are, and we must fight back. I know that we will mobilize again on May 14th in partnership with Women's March Los Angeles and many other organizations who will continue to fight and press on. We will fight like hell. We will not be silenced. We will not stand down. We will make sure everyone's rights are protected. I now want to welcome Mike Aguilera, who represents our congressman for this district, Congressman Adam Schiff.
Thank you so much to the incredible leadership of Mayor Meister, Mayor Pro Tem Shine, and Councilmember Horvath. I am Mike Aguilera Gaudet, and I'm today here on behalf of United States Congressman Adam Schiff, who's proud to represent this incredible pro-choice city. He sends the following statement. There are no words to adequately describe a Supreme Court opinion outlawing the right to choose and robbing women of their reproductive freedoms. If Roe is overturned, it will be devastating for the millions of women who will lose the right to make their healthcare decisions, all thanks to a partisan court. And while I understand the impulse for despair, it is not too late to protect the right to choose. Congress must codify protections for abortion rights by abolishing the filibuster and passing the Women's Health Protection Act now. Because the people elected us to lead, not lament, Congress must pass its abortion protections now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike. I want to bring forward Karen Ayers, who is the president of Hollywood Now.
Hi, I'm Karen Ayers. It's Kareneyes. I am president of Hollywood Now, which is the Hollywood chapter of the National Organization for Women. I'm here today furious and dedicated even more than ever before to the fight for women's right to choose. This is a healthcare issue, and this is about taking healthcare away from women and transgender men who can also, many of whom can also get pregnant and may seek abortion care. So let's not forget about transgender men in this argument. It wasn't that long ago that the conservative leaders of this country tried to trash the Affordable Care Act. Just consign it to the dustbin and take away the right for people to get health care insurance in this country. And now they're going after women's right to abortion care in this country. It's basic health care, and they are taking it away. I am lucky and I am grateful that I live in the pro-choice city of West Hollywood. I am grateful that I am represented in Congress by a pro-choice leader like Adam Schiff. But so many people across this country don't have that luck. They are governed and they're governed by conservative leaders who are out to restrict rights. And, you know, whether I had an abortion in New York City when I was in my 20s, and it was relatively easy to get. It should be just as easy to get for everybody, including women who live in rural California, to people living in Texas, to people if they're a trans man or a teenage girl in foster care. It should be just as accessible and just as easy for them to get an abortion today as I did in the 1980s as a young woman. And it's incredible that we are going backwards instead of forwards on this issue of accessibility for that to happen. So I'm saying that it's time to get on our feet. It's time to march. It's time to write our state legislators and let them know that we need to put the legislation behind Governor Gavin Newsom's promise to make California a sanctuary city for all. And we also need to get our Congress people and others in our federal government to support women's right to choose. Period. Thank you.
Shannon Morton with Black Women Lead.
Hi everybody, it's Shannon Morton, S-H-A-N-N-O-N. Last name is Morton, M-O-R-T-O-N. And I am the president of Black Women Lead. And I'm also on the Social Justice Task Force for the City of West Hollywood. I don't think I have to give much of a speech. I'm sure we've all read for ourselves. This is more of a call to action. This is to tell everybody to get in the streets, to call your senators. Roe v. Wade must be codified at a federal level to protect women's bodies. This is a full-on assault and attack on women of color, my brown and my black women, on young women, on women of lower socioeconomic backgrounds, on the vulnerable. Shame on the Supreme Court. Shame on you for not protecting the bodies of women that you claim to love. This gets me very angry, and I don't want to be angry up here, but I want to say this as well. If they think that women are going to hell for having an abortion, let's show them what hell is on earth. Take to the streets. You take to the streets, you call your senators, and we don't stop. My sister's keeper. We're in California, and we are so lucky to be in California. But guess what? Not everybody is. So if you have to adopt an abortion, you do that too. We go out and we find people and we give them the resources that they need. We are lucky to be here in California, but we aren't lucky if our sisters aren't lucky. Amen. Think about other people. This is happening. If they are willing to take us backwards, what won't they do? So I say today, think about others moving forward. We might get set back, but we always get back up and we keep moving forward.
Lucky Fuller, Chair of our Transgender Advisory Board.
Hello, my name is Lucky Alexander Fuller, L-U-C-K-I-E, A-L-E-X-A-N-D-E-R, F-U-L-L-E-R. I am the chair of the Trans Advisory Council, and this is not just a women's issue, this is a human issue. As a trans man that has given birth, okay, I want to make sure that not only do my sisters and my siblings have a choice, but I also want to make sure my brothers have a choice. Okay, as a trans man, we often get sexually assaulted. We need to be able to have a choice. Okay? Anywhere in this city, everyone in anyone that chooses should have that choice. So my call to action as well is going to be all of the different communities in this city, whether you're trans, whether you're black, whether you're any other identity, stand against this. We need to codify Roe versus Wade. We need to codify these decisions. That way everyone has a choice. Everyone has a decision that they can make. Thank you.
Shane Ivan Nash, also a member of our Transgender Advisory Board.
Thank you, Seppi. So as a member of the Transgender Advisory Board, as a member of the City of West Hollywood, and as a transgender human on this earth, I come here with a message to inspire you. This is not a message of right or left. This is a message of choice and access. As a human being who's recently experienced sexual violence, I recently had to access services within our own city. And even within our own city, we found gaps for those services for people like me. We found miseducation, lack of access, lack of knowledge, lack of empathy. I stand here today to tell you that I am inspired by everyone behind me. Everyone behind me has pushed me to keep going, to showing up. This is my first public speaking since the incident has happened in December. And I stand here not in anger, but in hope. Hope that my message reaches to you. I've been married to my wife for 16 years, and for the first time in my life, I had to get a rape kit and tested for STIs, and take an HIV medication to prevent me from catching HIV. I had to take Plan B as well. I wasn't taken quite care of properly in the hospital locally because, again, lack of information, lack of education, lack of access. But with the community and the small circle I've created, I was able to survive that. With the folks you see around me, and especially my brother Lucky. I hope that this message reaches you, and I hope you understand that this is not just a women's issue. This is a human issue for access for all of us to finally have the right to be who we are, who we love, and feel free on this land that we walk and tread. I ask today that you do not look at this as a right or left issue, but you look at this as an issue of lack of empathy and access. Thank you.
Zakia Wright, a member of our Lesbian and Gay Advisory Board.
Good afternoon. My name is Zakia Wright, Z-E-K-I-A-H. Last name is Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T. Change. Change. How do we bring about positive change? Is it rallies like these? Maybe. Is it posting on social media? Maybe. It doesn't hurt. Is it wallowing in gloom and doom? Probably not, but I get it. Change in our political system is supposed to come about by electing people that stand for your principles, that have promised to fight for what's important to you. We as voters, we make agreements with our elected officials that we will pay them with our vote and that they will return that with their service. Their service is acting in our best interests by standing up in the face of wrongdoing, standing against threats to our rights, and standing against threats to our humanity. Right now, our electeds in Congress and the Senate are failing us. Sure, we can blame the conservatives, we can blame Trump, but their attack on our rights isn't new and it's not a surprise. This war against reproductive rights has been raging longer than most of us have been alive. Their position has always been clear. What is surprising is the people we elected, the people we've entrusted to represent us, have failed to use the power we have given them to stop the diminishment of our rights. I'm tired of our electeds sitting on their hands while our lives are forever changed. I'm tired of hoping that when Democrats are in power, they'll fix it. Because the reality is, by and large, they don't have the moral courage or conviction to make a real change if it risks them giving up their positions of power. So how do we bring about political change? How do we bring about positive change? We hold our electeds accountable. This morning, Elizabeth Warren called for a vote on the Senate floor for legislation that would codify Roe. She said, if we don't have the votes, that's fine, but let's get all the senators' positions for and against this, take it to the people, and let them decide. She also called again to end the filibuster. So what can we do now to hold our electeds accountable and guarantee ourselves a real chance at making change? First, make every elected official running for state or national office take a public pledge that they will end the filibuster, expand the Supreme Court, and support codifying reproductive rights, voting rights, and same-sex marriage. It's too important not to demand this of our electeds. Second, refuse to support any candidate that will not make this pledge, because these are our lives we're talking about. And third, fight like hell to get every SOB out of office that is not willing to risk their political power for our humanity and for our rights. This is how we bring about positive change. Thank you.
Marquita Thomas, Executive Director of the LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce and Planning Commissioner in our city.
Marquita Thomas, MarquitaThomas. First, I want to say elections have consequences. I, like most of you, have been hearing that Roe v. Wade was in jeopardy for quite some time. And as terrifying as that thought was, I needed to believe that as a nation we were better than this, that a woman's bodily autonomy would be protected by the court created to adhere to the values of this country. Yesterday's news gutted me. It not only gutted me as a woman, but as a Black woman. This decision is not only an assault on women, but specifically women of color. Black women, Hispanic and Indigenous women in particular. It is not only rooted in misogyny, but racism and white supremacy. The Black maternal death rate is such a crisis that in 2020, presidential candidates added it to their platforms, and an entire week has been dedicated to addressing it. Black women experience maternal mortality at a rate 2 to 3 times higher than that of white women due to lack of access to care and systemic racism in healthcare. And it's not an issue of socioeconomic status, because even Serena Williams, a wealthy, world-renowned tennis star, almost died during childbirth because her health care providers refused to give her adequate care. Now more than ever, Black women need access to safe abortions. Access to abortions is essential. Being a mother is a gift, but women should give birth because they want to, not because they are forced to. Women have a right to govern our own bodies, make the decisions that are best for ourselves. This decision would be disastrous to the entire country, even to those who are championing for it. The impacts of this decision will be felt by everyone, and we would have to ask ourselves, what's next? But all is not lost. Please remember that this is a draft decision. Abortion is still the law of the land, and we must also urge our Senate to pass the Women's Health Protection Act, which has already been passed in the House, and we need to get it to President Biden's desk. And to all of you, I say that while this is a draft decision, we have to continue to fight, to engage, to be heard, and to let the Supreme Court know that we will never go back. Thank you.
Alex Mohajer, President of the Stonewall Democratic Club.
Good afternoon, everyone. Alex Mohajer, Mohajer. By now, we've all read reports about the draft SCOTUS decision that was leaked by Politico that effectively overturns Roe v. Wade. If you're anything like me today, you're cycling through feelings of existential dread, anxiety, heartbreak, and rage. This is a moment that we have all been fearing and anticipating for a long time. a conservative majority on the Supreme Court installed by Republican presidents who were not popularly elected, including one seat that was stolen from a Democratic president and rammed through by Senate Republicans, has decided to overturn a landmark law that has governed this nation for nearly 50 years. In doing so, not only are they rolling back fundamental rights for women and for minorities, but they are signaling that they will act with odious disregard for precedent and years of progress and expanded rights, including marriage equality and protections for minorities and people of color. What's next? The Supreme Court cannot survive the stench of this ruling, one that brazenly overturns rights that a vast majority of Americans support. In the coming days, we will have a broader discussion about how to respond, including expanding the court to make sure it is more fair and representative, and abolishing the anti-democratic filibuster so that we can represent the people. But there's no way around it. We are in a dire moment. History is littered with the tales of fallen democracies that could not mount the requisite opposition needed to stop authoritarianism. The lesson in each of these tales is that in these moments of existential crisis, we must unify. When nations start rolling back rights for women and others, that is the time to come together and speak with one voice. Today there will be protest actions at courthouses across the nation at 5 p.m. local time. Groups like Stonewall Democrats, Women's March, and others will be there. I hope you will all join me. And then we must do everything in our power to make sure that Republicans pay at the ballot box, up and down ballot and across the nation. Now is the time for Democrats and those who agree that women's rights are human rights and human rights are LGBTQ rights and LGBTQ rights are human rights, that we rally, that we unify. We cannot allow this Republican Party to control even a faction of the federal government. It's important to know that Roe has not been overturned yet. If you need access to reproductive health care, it is still available, especially here in the city of West Hollywood and in the state of California. And I want to thank Mayor Meister and Mayor Pro Tem Seppi Shine and the rest of the council for having us all here to talk about this. Till then, at the Stonewall Democrats and other progressive activist groups across the country, we will be doing the work to make sure that we don't go down without a fight and bans off our bodies. Thank you.
Chelsea Byers, a Human Services Commissioner in our city and the President of the National Women's Political Caucus, LA West Side.
Good afternoon. My name is Chelsea Byers, CHELSEA-BYERS. I'm a Human Services Commissioner here in the city of West Hollywood. I am the President of the LA chapter of National Women's Political Caucus. This organization has worked for the past 50 years to elect pro-choice leaders up and down the ballot to safeguard our fundamental health care and reproductive rights. We know access to safe health care means women and trans men have the tools necessary for self-determination, and everybody deserves this right. Nearly a year ago, we gathered as a city to affirm our support for abortion and reproductive rights and the bodies and lives who depend on these fundamental rights. We saw this coming, and we knew then how important it was to prepare. And I thank the elected leadership of this city for their collaborative work with the county to prepare us for what was coming. And it's true that no amount of preparation could help us be ready for what it feels like to be considered by our government as less entitled to safe, life-affirming medical resources, less than worthy of having agency over our own bodies, as less than human. Today, it's easy to feel like a failure. When so many of us have worked so hard to protect all that we knew was at risk in this decision. It's easy to feel like we've lost and it's over, and what's the point, really? It's easy to let this devastation wash over us and suppress our energy. I get that feeling big time. And frankly, that's exactly what this act of terror, which is exactly what this was, leaking this decision as a draft form, this act of terror, this is what they wanted us to feel. They wanted us to feel backed into a corner with no way out. But we are smarter than that, and we have so much on the line that's worth fighting for. That is why I'm asking us all to do the hard thing. We've got to work like we've never worked before. We have to make serious investments in our community, in the organizations like Planned Parenthood, providing the life-saving resources, in our governments, where vital resources must be directed to these services at unprecedented scales, and in our elections, where pro-choice leaders up and down the ballots need our support. I'm so proud to be doing this work with you all. I'm so proud to be a part of the city of West Hollywood, where I know my body is safe, where I know we care about the safety and the autonomy of women and trans men and our allies, and where I know we will stand up and do everything we can for others beyond our city to feel the exact same sense of safety and security we feel here. Thank you all.
Thank you all for being here. And again, this has been a call to action. We got to get going. Thank you.
Sounds like a plan.